Hey guys, Miss Healy here. Welcome to your video about Texas landforms, weathering, erosion, and deposition. There are lots of different types of landforms out here on this beautiful earth, but we want to focus on the ones we find in Texas, like beaches, canyons, plateaus, mountains, valleys, and plains. Our landforms get to change over time by being built up, being torn down, and changing their shapes. And these landforms are found all over the world, but we're really going to focus on the ecoregions that we find in Texas. Here is a quick review of weathering, erosion, and deposition, or WED, on the right. And here's a great little infographic on the left giving you picture examples of what weathering, erosion, and deposition look like. Alright, how about an in-depth look at what weathering really is? So weathering takes place as rocks are broken down into teeny tiny little pieces using chemical and physical changes. There are actually two types of weathering. We have physical or mechanical weathering. Remember, physical and mechanical mean the same thing, just like when we were talking about digestion. And all it is that you get rock that becomes smaller and smaller and smaller, but the chemical composition, how it's made up, how the atoms are arranged, are still exactly the same because it's only going through physical changes. Then there's chemical weathering. Chemical weathering is when the rock's broken down, but it's broken down using chemical processes. We actually get something brand new, a new composition of the rock, and it's because chemical changes occur. When we look at physical and mechanical weathering, we're looking at these physical changes that are happening to the rock because the rock's actually going to change size and change shape, but it's still going to be the same kind of rock. So we want to look at the agents of weathering. And when I say the word agent, I'm talking about the mode or reason or something. So what's the reason for the weathering? So we've got water could be a reason for weathering. That water rushes over the cliff there, breaks up parts of the rock. Wind and abrasion, like chunks of little sand getting thrown against things down here, that is a type or agent of weathering, as well as when things freeze and thaw and freeze and thaw. When plants are growing through things, that's some more physical weathering. And then when your glaciers, your big chunks of ice go across land, that's another type of physical weathering. So how much weathering happens actually depends on how much force is behind that agent of weathering. More force, more noticeable changes. And more force means more energy. So if you have a super high kinetic energy, that energy that's in motion, like super fast wind or super fast flowing river, then you're going to get way more weathering. More force, more energy, more weathering. Now let's switch gears and look at that chemical weathering. It's when we have new materials, new substances being formed. We do have some specific agents of chemical weathering. One is carbonic acid, which happens when carbon dioxide mixes with water, and the other is oxidation. Think rust, the browning of bananas, the browning of avocados, and the browning of apples. So there are some types of chemical weathering. Like I said, I mentioned oxidation, and it's when oxygen reacts chemically with minerals or rocks. That totally says with, not wath. And then carbonation, when carbon dioxide is dissolving in water to form that carbonic acid. And the carbonic acid actually dissolves and eats away at limestone, and it's kind of cool. Acid rain is when we have pollutants in the air, and they react with the water vapor, and they form acid, and it literally rains acid from the sky. So if you take a look at the picture here, you can see a little more in depth about how you have sulfur and nitrogen, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide going up into the clouds, interacts and sticks to that water droplet, and can come down as acid snow and acid rain, and that's really kind of wicked and crazy. To finish it off, we're going to look at erosion and deposition. Erosion is just now we're taking those bits that were weathered down and we're going to move them on out of here to another place using such agents as the wind, moving water, moving ice, and gravity itself. Deposition is when that movement stops and it literally goes boop and sets it into a new place using, again, wind, water, or gravity. And if you have lots of crazy force, super fast wind, super fast water, you don't have a lot of deposition because everything's too busy being eroded. Okay, and if you look at this picture, you can see the sediments flowing through the river getting deposited at the end. Here's my sources. Till next time, guys. Bye.